as most of y'all know, I had a battle with COVID about a month ago. And so I'm just going to walk you through kind of how my time in the hospital went and things that I had to go through and how the Lord brought me through these things. It was the Thursday, it would have been the 2nd, I believe is what day it was. Me and my son both tested positive for COVID. Went through Friday, didn't feel bad at all, just doing normal things, everything was fine. Pretty much Saturday was okay, didn't have any symptoms, no cough, no fever, no nothing. Sunday up about midday, I got to feeling pretty tired and just worn out, and by Sunday night I started running a really high fever. At one point on Sunday it was to 103.7, and I couldn't get it to break, or if it would break it would be just very little and then right back. So Sunday night was pretty rough trying to sleep, trying to stay in a recliner and stay upright and sleep, and I couldn't. Just couldn't sleep at all. So Monday morning I got up and I felt really terrible. It helped to go outside and kind of walk around and just sit outside, and so I tried to do that as much as possible. Well, while I was outside, Victoria and I we were sitting outside just talking and just trying to make each other feel better, and anyway, I got up and got to walking around. I started getting real dizzy. Everything started giving me tunnel vision. So we decided to make a call and have an ambulance come out to the house, and because she was also sick along with the kids. So there was no way for her to take me to the hospital. So we called an ambulance Monday morning. They came out, assessed me, and they said, you're not to the point where we have to take you. It's your choice. So I said, well, what would you guys just recommend? And he told me, he said, we would rather you be at home. If you can at all be here, let's be here. And I said, well, that's what I want to do. And he said, well, we can give you a breathing treatment while we're here. Because I was having trouble breathing. My oxygen level was in the high 80s at that point. So I took the breathing treatment, and it helped for a couple hours. And then I took a big turn. Oxygen level dropped majorly. I went outside to kind of walk around, and I'd walked maybe 50 feet out into our driveway and tried to make it around my house, and I just lost everything. I couldn't see nothing. Everything was black. But I knew I was still okay. I could tell I was still conscious and upright. So I made it back to the house and sat down on our porch, and I wailed on the door for somebody to come because I was still having trouble. And Victoria came, and I told her, I said, I think we called the ambulance again. I said, I think I'm bad enough now. And so anyway, they came, and sure enough, they told me, they said, yeah, we have to take you. And he said, let me go back and I'll bring out the gurney to take you back. And something told me right then, you need to do as much as possible on your own. Try, don't give in. So I told him, I said, no, I can walk. And he kind of looked at me like, yeah, I don't think so, man. And I said, no, I'm fine, I can walk. And it's only maybe 20 yards out to where the ambulance was parked at. So I got up, I felt pretty great. Everything was still in vision. And time I made it to the ambulance, I couldn't see nothing. It was just dark again. And I found the door, and they helped me inside and set me down and strapped me in, and we rode on to the hospital. So when we got to the hospital, they had basically told them what had went on from when I got there, or from when they got to me. They reassessed me, and my oxygen level had dropped all the way to 71. And from what I was told, if you get into the 60s, is basically when your organs that need air or survive off oxygen start to shut down. So, you know, one of the nurses made the comment that, you know, you walked in to the ambulance, you know, and I said, yeah. And I was still talking to him, and I felt great, just feeling-wise, but I could tell my body was tired and just exhausted. So we get into the room, and then that's when the nurse had mentioned to me, she said, they said you walked out to the ambulance. I said, yes, I did. I said, something told me that I needed to try to do that. And so anyway, she said, I don't know how you've done it. She said, your body shouldn't function the way it's functioning. So the night went on, and it was a very bad night. I couldn't sleep at all. Had an IV in each hand, in each bend of my arm. They were constantly coming in, taking blood work, x-rays of my lungs, which my lungs were really bad, full of the infection off the pneumonia part of it. That's what I ended up catching, was pneumonia. So they gave me a round of treatment that night. And no sleep. Tuesday morning, doctor come in, and he said, well, your first round of treatment has went through, and there's no response. He said, you're actually worse than what you was when you came in. And so he said, how are you feeling? And I said, well, I feel good. And he kind of looked at me, kind of strange. And I said, no, I feel pretty good. I wanted to be doing something, but they wouldn't allow it. So I had to lay on my stomach for the entire time I was there, for 6 days. Not the entire time. The last day I did get to move off of that. So in this whole time, Victoria had been calling me, and, well, how's everything going? There were several people. And I kind of made the decision on my own for her to not let her know how bad it was. So there was multiple people that had asked me, you know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling good, not doing so well, but I feel good in spirits. I was feeling good. I felt like the whole time that I was going to be okay. So Monday night, no more sleep again. Continued with another round of treatment. Tuesday, doctor came back in, and he said, well, we've completed that round of treatment. And he said, once again, no response. So I had been praying this whole time. And Tuesday, I basically just kind of broke down on it. And I just made a prayer that if the outcome wasn't what my family wanted, that at least there just wouldn't be any suffering through the deal. So after making that, you know, the doctor had come in and he told me again, you know, no improvement. And he said, from here on out, you've got probably 12 to 24 hours, and we're going to sedate you and put you on a ventilator. So at this point, first thought through my head was, I've told my wife that I'm doing fine.
I'm in trouble.
Okay, yeah. Told multiple people that, hey, I'm doing okay. So anyway, I was trying to make a decision on how I was going to break this news that I just received. And so once again, just kind of, I kept praying on it, and I kept getting the response that everything was going to be okay. And so Tuesday night, from where I had not slept since Sunday, I went into hallucinations. Just from lack of sleep and my oxygen level not being high and just having trouble breathing. And one of the biggest hallucination that I had was every time I would think I would go to sleep, it would be super bright. Everything was really bright, except for there was dark figures that would be in all of this light. And I could talk to myself in this dream or hallucination that I was having. And I just couldn't quite understand what it was, and it was a really scary feeling to me. And anyway, at one point, I was telling myself to get up, to wake up. And it was like I had a hold of myself, shaking myself. And I came to, and I was standing in my bed. And I had pulled off my oxygen mask that I had on at this point. I had ripped off some monitors that I had, and the monitors were all sounding off, and nurses came into the room, and I'm standing up on top of my bed. And they're shaking me also, trying to get me to come to. And when I did, she said, "Sir, what's the matter?" And I'm looking down at her, and I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'm just hallucinating. I don't even know what's going on." And so anyway, she gets me laid back down, gets me calmed down, and laid back down. And she said, I don't know if you know it or not, but you're a pretty big-sized guy. She said, "You really scared me when I came through the door and you're standing on top of your bed." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You just don't realize how big somebody is until they're not laying in bed." And I said, "Yeah." And so I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to startle you or anything. I asked her if there was anything I could do for having these hallucinations. And she said, "No, there's nothing we can do, because if we try to sedate you, basically, that, it'll slow your heart rate down way too much, your oxygen level will drop." She said, "The best thing you need is just sleep." So I was like, okay. So I went to prayer again, and just give me any amount of rest that I can get. If it's an hour, it's an hour. If it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes. That night, I was able to go to sleep for about an hour and 45 minutes. That I realized on the clock. It could have been less, could have been more. Wednesday morning, the doctor comes in, and he said, "You had improvement through he said, no improvement on Wednesday. There was no improvement again. And he said, we really need to start making plans to put you towards a ventilator." And I went to prayer again, and just, hey, I feel like I can't go on to a ventilator. I know some people have went on and came off and they're fine, but majority in my thoughts was, once you go to that, it's bad news. So I prayed hard on it all day long. And just to remember this, there's been no medicine for 2 days. Other than just stuff to keep me from getting a blood clot, blood work, that kind of stuff. Stuff to keep me hydrated. And So Wednesday, I had heard that the church family was going to hold a special prayer Wednesday night. And so anyway, they had 2 shifts. They have an evening day shift and a night shift. Well, night shift always came in about 7 o'clock and run their thousands of shots and blood work and x-rays and everything. Well, nobody showed up at 7. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. I mean, they had been on the money every day. And it wasn't until about 8:30 that evening when they finally came in. And my respiratory nurse come over and she said, the numbers show that you've been holding steady. We need to try to drop your air. And at this point, I was on a machine. Obviously, that was the next step before a ventilator. I looked like I had a big fighter mask on. Fighter jet mask is what it looked like. So it maxed out at 100, and I was on 97. So I don't really know if that was liters or what it was. In my thoughts, it was 97% wasn't working. Only 3% I was able to make work. She goes, you have some improvement, so we need to try to drop it. I thought, yes, that's awesome. And just to kind of put that a little more into perspective, church starts at 7 on Wednesday. And it was 8:30 when she came in. And I hadn't seen this improvement. I watched the monitor like a hawk. And I had not seen this improvement that she talked of. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for that much, for the most part. And most of all, thank God for that. So Wednesday night was rough again. No sleep again that night. Thursday morning, my doctor came in. He said, hey, I heard we had some improvement. And I said, yes, very much. Which the improvement that I had got was from 97 to 96 and a half. So that half percent. And he said, well, since you have shown improvement, we're taking the ventilator chance right now we're pushing that away. So I thought, great, that's awesome. Now I don't have to explain to my wife. For now. And so we sat there and he talked and he said, I don't know what's caused this improvement, but he said, whatever it is, it needs to keep it up. And he said, because we're not giving you any more medicine right now. And I just told him, I said, I've got a church family praying for me. I said, I've been praying hard. And I said, I have God with me. That's all it is. That's all I need through this. And he said, he just kind of looked at me and he said, well, whatever it is, it needs to keep going. And I said, okay. And that day, I thanked the Lord multiple times that day for everything that I had in my life, from past to what was going on then. And I was able to go to sleep Thursday night and actually sleep for a significant amount of time. Friday morning, the doctor came in and they had bumped me way down. They took me plumb into like the 30s that next day. And once again, he said, I don't know what you got going for you, but he said, it's working. Keep it up. And I just told him again, I said, it's God. It's it. And right there, he sat down with me. And he was always just 15 minutes in, he was out. He had other patients to go see. And he sat down in a chair there, and he is, completely smocks. He's got a face shield on. You can't see this guy. And he just begins to pull this stuff up and pull it down, and we start talking. And he said, do you really believe that it's God that's pulling you through this? And I said, I know it is. I don't just believe it, I know it is. And he just started smiling right off the bat. And we had we sat there and talked for 30 minutes. And finally he's like, I have to go. I just can't stay longer, I have to. And we had a real good talk. Come to find out, he had also been praying along. I'm sure he does it with everybody, but it was just nice that he had told me that, and just reassures that there's still, just like in this room, there's good people out there. And so Friday morning he comes back in again, and they took me plumb off at that machine and just put me back to just regular hospital air. And doctor came in and he said, well, your path is going good. And before, he said, everything's going fine. He said, we're looking at maybe here in a couple days, we can maybe get you out of here. And I said, all right. And he said, just remember, God's good. And I said, yes, very much. And so then comes Saturday, and they were thinking about releasing me then, and my heart rate spiked. I had a resting heart rate, it was up to 150. And sometimes it'd get up to 160s. So it was just a setback on that day. And kept praying on it. And they kept telling me that it could be a blood clot trying to set up, or one releasing, or they just were worried about it. So I had a CT scan, and they found nothing. And they still don't know what was the deal with that. They don't know what caused it or anything, but before, I could even get it out, I prayed on it. And before I could get to my CT scan and they had it, they couldn't find anything. It just goes to show just how awesome God can be. And I'm just so grateful for everything that He's done for me and my family through this time. And it has been hard, especially, and I don't hold a grudge or any resentment or anything like that. I just feel with some of the families that have lost people, and I know that I was right there. And you kind of look, you just take a step back and go, okay, what do you got there? What was the reasoning for allowing me to come through this? So the best thing that I can find out of it is that I just got to keep spreading the word. I got to give my testimony. It's been hard to try to do that. And it's kind of hard to deal with that. Just how I could have not made it through. And then realizing why. But to fast forward off of that, I was able to go home that Monday. Sunday went great. Everything was good on Sunday. Heart rate had come back down. Monday, they told me I was going to get to go home, so that whole day just drug by. It couldn't have came fast enough. Yeah, and Monday, when my doctor came in that Monday morning to release me, of course, we had a long talk that day. It was 45 minutes to an hour. He just sat down and we talked. And he said, I just want you to know, he said, I've been a part of 31 patients that are no longer here. He said, I couldn't treat them. He said, they passed on. And he said, I just want you to know the way your symptoms was going, you were number 32. He said, medicine wasn't doing anything for you. And he just told me, he said, always trust God. Always believe. And I said, I will. And I said, I have. And we talked for a little while longer, and then he had to leave. And I just sat there that whole day just thankful and grateful. So I got to go home on that day, and was still struggling pretty hard. It was hard to breathe. Had to go home on air, take an oxygen tank home with me. And the amount of prayers that were still flowing in, getting text messages daily, people just telling me how much they were praying for me, and just be out in town and come across somebody and, hey, you're such and such, right? And, yeah, well, we're praying for you, And it just felt really awesome that there was a community out there. So I went to my first doctor's appointment. It was 10 days later. And they had to do an x-ray of my lungs, and they're severely scarred. They're pretty bad shape still after being somewhat treated. And so they sent off, they done the x-rays, and we're waiting to get x-rays back, and my doctor received a call, and he said, this guy needs to get to the hospital immediately. The doctor's like, what for? And he's like, well, he has signs that he's got COVID pneumonia, and it is bad. And he said, no. He said, this guy's been released from the hospital. And the doctor that was talking to him said, no, it can't be. This guy shouldn't really be breathing right now. He said, oh, he's on minimal air. He's only on 2 liters of air, and he's walking, and nothing's going on. And I just, I told that doctor when he came in there and started telling me this, I said, well, it just shows you how good God is. Even though I'm not supposed to be doing these things. And I said, here I am. I said, he's led me through this and continues to give me the strength to do this. And I can say now that I'm probably 90% back to what I used to be. But from looking at when I do go to my doctor's appointments, I shouldn't be there from what they're telling me. But I know God has a plan for me, and that's what's pushing everything that I'm being able to do. I still have a few coughing fits every now and then, or spells, which they told me that could last for months, or as long as it takes for my lungs to heal back. They said they will somewhat heal back. I could have scarring from it, but other than that, they should heal. But I just want to thank everybody again for everything that y'all done for my family through this time. Whether it was financial, it was prayers, it was just being there to talk to people. I'm really thankful for all that, and I just want y'all to know that we felt very welcome, and just everything felt fine, okay, it was going to be fine. But I just want everybody to know, if there's something you're going through, or anything that you're having trouble with, there's people to talk to. There's a God that will always listen. And with Him, anything is possible. Anything. And I just want everybody to know that. I've had many people that have come up to me and start talking to me about it. And that's the only place that I can put them. That's the only explanation that I'm standing here. That's what I tell them. And there's been a few that they try to push it off as, well, you were lucky. Well, no. I might have been lucky, but there was a lot more to it than luck. I'm telling you. But I just want to thank everybody again. That's all I have to say on it. Just thanks, everybody.